in the lead up to November of 1989, at the time I was the chief of the Maneuver Coordination Branch in our Deputy Chief of Staff for Host Nation Activities. And the two things that stick out in my mind about that time were, number one, nobody saw these events coming. We had a diplomatic presence in East Berlin. None of these people knew what was in the works in the lead up to 9 November. Obviously, we had a lot of people watching the whole situation, both in the intelligence community. I mean, there was just no clue that this resentment and overwhelming the demonstrations that took place were going to happen when they did. The year before that, in 1988, we had the largest reforger ever. We had, although we only announced about 80,000 people in our maneuver box, we had 120,000 soldiers exercising over here to defend West Germany against the Warsaw Pact. So if you can imagine, at that time, the West Germans were starting to get a little irritated about our presence and operations over here. And the same kind of thing was happening in East Germany against the regime. And so the two Germanys were really dissatisfied with this status quo that had existed for 45 years since the end of World War II. In August of 1989, I went to Berlin with a family member who was visiting from the States, and we went over the border at Checkpoint Charlie. And at that time, the other Warsaw Pact countries were already allowing their citizens to cross from East Berlin into West Berlin. And you could sense there was some tension among the East German officials that were processing these people through over the border and the gate crossings. So there was something in the air. And then from that summer on, things just happened so fast that nobody could envision a situation where you had two previous crackdowns in Prague, for example, and in Hungary in the 50s. Everyone thought this thing was going to get shut down quickly, and it didn't. And it just kept growing and growing until on the 9th of November, I was in Rome with a family member, and we were standing with a tour group, and somebody had an Italian newspaper, and I could see the headline and the pictures of people standing on the Berlin Wall. And so that was just, it was just stunning. I mean, we wanted to get on the next plane and go back so that we could watch more of this as it took place. So those were the memories, and I've been fortunate enough to be have a front seat in watching history unfold here. In my current job, I'm now the Foreign Policy Advisor at U.S. Army Europe, and we have been part of this change that took place, and we continue to be part of the change that's taking place both in Europe, Eastern Europe, NATO enlargement, spread of free market democracies, out-of-area operations. I see our continuing role here in Europe to be fully engaged with all of these old and new partners as we try and address the security challenges that we're facing in the 21st century.